All right. Yeah, go ahead.
We're live.
We are live. You know, the way that the camera was set up, Peter, welcome, by the way, to One Chimp Friends. If you put the camera up a little bit again, yeah, right about there. From this perspective, it looks like an erect penis coming off of a very thin, dark-skinned body. I know
Wow.
you really can't see, and I was like, what in the hell is Peter? Either way.
Well, I'm at home, and in our home we have this feature.
Yeah. I've had that in a couple of homes growing up.
That's what it's like. So yes, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How's life there in Ireland? We almost had an Olivia Colman sighting, but you couldn't manage to lock that down, understandably.
Yeah, I said, I said, look, now, Peter, you're in. Now is not the time to bring up the movie script or the book or the album or the podcast.
Yeah.
Play it cool. Play it cool.
No, even
but yeah, Olivia Colman. I know her from.
Yeah.
I know her from The Crown, from Peep Show, and a load of other shows. She plays the Queen on The Crown. Really nice woman. She's in Tralee at the moment filming. She's in a hotel which I am frequenting at the moment, and my father works there, so I got an introduction, and it's fantastic. It's really cool. Because it's been so grey here in Ireland. It's been great, a lot of fun. I haven't seen the sun since I arrived, so to have this little bit of excitement happening in our small town is very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and evidently she's filming two things at once right now. So Joyride, which you said, but then there's another project that's filming right now, which I guess is a TV show. So she's doing, but actually she's got like 7 credits this year alone. And a couple that are in like pre-production and rumored, like. Yeah, so she's been super busy. Anyway, that would have been super cool to have her on and talk politics and the like. So
but I don't think these days people in her position would partake in it. Like, for example,
no, I know, that's just it. I could imagine her agent and or manager being like, I don't think that's a good move for you,
Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever, like, it's such a small podcast at the moment, but like season 2 I think will really kick on. But I think it's easier for us because, do you know the term fuck you money? Like, we have real fuck you money where it's kind of like, well, what, you're going to cancel us? Like, oh no, what's going to happen? We're going to move to a Turkish backwater and no one's ever going to hear about us again. Already happened. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I look at it like, when here's the thing. I could spend my time chasing after interviews and guests. I could do that. And that might be something that I do in the future. I had a lot of success doing that with the magazine, being persistent and always getting my man or woman, as the case may be. But right now, that's just not that important. Jake, welcome to One Chimp and Friends. Hello, buddy.
Hello. How's it going?
Yeah,
Newberry, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Just chatting. We're just hanging out. Talking about obviously the Olivia Colman sighting. Although
it
wasn't a sighting. I was with her.
Yeah.
Coffee. It wasn't a sighting. But by the way, what are we going to talk about today? That's what
we're going to talk about Haiti, the shit show in Haiti.
Because I want to choose the topics because I want to say, can we talk about that first? Then I'll go and you can talk about something else.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, go on. What do you want to talk about?
Oh no, I want to choose what Martin has chosen for today, and then I say, I know a bit about that.
Well, obviously, U.S. is expedited its departure from Afghanistan, so they are expecting to be out of there by August 31st. There was a story earlier in the week about how Afghan forces were surprised to discover that they had pulled out of Bagram Air Base just like overnight, and they were like, "Whoa, what, they're not there anymore. And that's usually what we'll do. We'll scuttlebutt in the middle of the night without giving any advance notice, because that's actually the best way to egress a place, is without any fanfare, so that nobody can have a chance to spoil your going away. And then Joe Biden came out and announced that, the pullout was supposed to occur in September, ideally September 11th, but they're going to beat that by nearly 2 weeks. So, and then he talked about in his press conference, or I guess it wasn't a press conference, it was just an announcement, talking about the 2,500 visas that they've issued to translators and interpreters, Afghani translators and interpreters. He said about half of which have been processed, and those people are living in the United States, but there's another half that are still hanging out there who kind of feel like maybe they want to stay in Afghanistan. They don't feel an overwhelming threat to their person or families. So they're kind of sitting on the fence about whether or not they want to come to the United States or not. And just talking about, like, what would be a third place that they would put them processing this. They're trying to streamline the process to make it easier for these visas. But, like with Iranian people who manage to get out of Iran, but don't get to their final destination, they might hang out here in Turkey for a while, or perhaps some other countries, before they reach their final destination. And then the other part was like in Haiti, right? So the president was assassinated on Wednesday, right?
Wow.
The day before, on the 6th of July, he nominated or appointed Ariel Henry, or Ariel Henry, to be the new prime minister, replacing the interim prime minister, Claude Joseph. Now, Claude Joseph had been appointed interim prime minister back in April, right? But the thing is that Jovenel, what's his name? Moise, what's his name? The president. His term finished in February, right? And he had been ruling by decree. So he just made a decree that he's still in power, but his term was supposed to be up in February. So the two appointments that he made, the first one to Claude Joseph to be interim prime minister in April, and then this other appointment of the permanent prime minister the day before his assassination, are both kind of dubious appointments, right? Because they're being made by a president whose term is already expired. And so, of course, the interim prime minister, Claude Joseph, says that he's still in power, and he's the one with his hands on all the levers, of the institutions of government, and the military and the police are listening to him. And the United States has already recognized him as the rightful leader of the country, even though his appointment is no more legitimate than Ariel Henry's appointment on the 6th, on Tuesday the 6th. So it is a shit show for the ages. Now, the thing is, they're looking for 28 people. They've managed to, I think, detain 17 or 18 of them. They killed 2 of them, so I guess 20 of them are accounted for, right? So a couple of them were killed in a shootout with government forces and police. 17 of them have been detained, I believe. 2 of them are Haitian Americans, so they're US citizens, and the others are all Colombians.
Yeah.
And they've been tracking the movement of these Colombians from the time they left Colombia, where they went, either through the Dominican Republic or through Panama, to their eventual destination of Haiti. And, this looks to me like one of those things where I wrote kind of a detailed thing earlier today. So it looks like one of these situations where really the only person who stands to benefit from this is Claude Joseph, the interim prime minister, because he's had enough time, you see, to acquaint himself with the levers of power, to get loyalty oaths from the various like branches of government. And he's the one that stands to benefit. And just like the president that was assassinated, who was looking to hold power, this guy looks like to be one of those characters who wants to hold power. And Ariel Henry, you know, bless his heart, but he had been appointed prime minister less than 24 hours before the assassination. So he hadn't even had time to form his government. So it's pretty clear that he did not have the ability to get some Colombians in country, because they've obviously been there longer than that. So this has been like conspiracy that's been in the making for a while. And this isn't a grassroots conspiracy where you have people on the street in Haiti who want Colombian mercenaries in there to do the dirty work. This is somebody with the power and the money that has done that. And the only person I could see would be Claude Joseph himself, or those power brokers that want to see Claude Joseph remain in power.
But the US, for example, I heard, I was watching this on the news the other day, it doesn't have much strategic influence at all in Haiti, does it? Because, well, it's just like, do you think the US is involved at all?
Well, it's the poorest country in the world, right? And we've been dumping billions of dollars into Haiti for a long, long time. There was some dirty business involving the Clinton Foundation in Haiti quite a number of years ago. I know that they've never fully recovered from the 2010 earthquake. It didn't help that they also had a couple massive hurricanes rock their little, but it's the poorest country in the world.
Yeah.
It's really, really small. It doesn't have any strategic, except unless you wanted to be able to insulate, you know, the homeland. But I don't know what you'd be insulating it from, because there's not like homegrown terrorism in Haiti.
No, yeah, there's very little.
To get independence, didn't they fight the French and
win?
Yeah, that's amazing.
They were a slave rebellion that was very successful, and they were massive proponents of like the kind of Enlightenment.
Yeah, you know, it wasn't one of these colonial countries where, like, you know, the you know, France or England or, you know, any of these places. Oh yeah, you're independent now. No, they actually had a war and they fucking won. Ireland or Turkey, whatever. But like, the place is cursed, man. And wasn't the president? He was shot when he was in bed in his presidential like accommodation.
His wife got injured as well.
Yeah, apparently tortured as well. Apparently,
tortured, was he?
Torture? Why?
And
what did he do that was so bad?
Somebody would have been able
what he did that was so bad is he ran a government beyond his expiration date, and like every person that runs the government of Haiti, they don't do a good job of it. They appoint themselves as much luxury as they possibly can in that position, while the millions of people on the street suffer. And so, of course, the people were upset that he was ruling by decree and not democratically. You know, the parliament, for example, the Senate, the upper house has 30 seats, right? 20 of them are vacant because their terms of office expired in February, you see? So, or I'm sorry, in January. So right before the president's term expired, theirs expired in January. So they can't get anything done in parliament right now because
no laws are being like made at all. Yeah, so it's just
There's no legislation going on.
So like, but he was shot when he was in bed, but doesn't that mean that like somebody would have had to have breached security to get in there?
So here's what happened. There's a video out there. The people that did the siege on the presidential palace or whatever, pretended to be US DEA agents in the middle of a raid, conducting a raid. So there's loudspeaker, you can hear loudspeaker, them pretending to be US DEA doing a raid. And that was the ruse by which they managed to get into the presidential grounds and then do their business. And then according to reports, it appears as though he suffered some form of torture before he was killed. They didn't just go in there and summarily execute him.
No.
So,
have you heard, I got his name, but yeah, I know the story vaguely. It's very sad, but what you're saying about his assassination and his torture reminds me of, I believe this is correct, Patrice Lumumba. Have you heard of him?
Congo?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he was the first like independence leader of Congo and stuff. But mercenaries tortured him and killed, and he was like really. He wanted to like he was quite socialist, I think, as well, wasn't he? He wanted to bring all the the wealth of the Congo to the people and everything. Really, and yeah, he was killed by mercenaries. I believe, and it's just sad, really, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I know this guy is different. Do you know what I mean? He sounds like a dictator.
Well, he certainly wanted to be. He certainly wanted to be. We don't have these stories of him killing thousands of his countrymen or anything like that.
No.
But it's just in these poor countries that are struggling democracies, it's really important that there's a transition of power on the day that there's supposed to be one. So like right now, I think we're in like a 20-day window where new elections have to be conducted. And so the problem is, of course, they put a caveat in there, which is that first we have to find the people responsible for this. Then we have to ensure order and protection. And then third, schedule elections. Now, like I said, the only person that really seems to benefit from this are either the power brokers that are behind Claude Joseph or Claude Joseph himself. That's it. It's like that. It's simple as that. Nobody else invites Colombians to come. And here's the thing about bringing in this is a classic example where you bring in outsiders to conduct the assassination, and then part two of that is those people are supposed to fuck off and become invisible and disappear back into the jungle. However, if they don't, that's fine too, because then you use them as straw men to suggest that the plot, that the conspiracy emanated from beyond Haiti's borders, you see? So it further deflects, the accusations from landing on the current guy who's in charge, Claude Joseph. So that's the thing, right? This is a classic case. You bring in outsiders to do the hit. If those outsiders get caught, that's fine, because as they're outsiders, then it doesn't look like a homegrown conspiracy.
Reminds me of, do you remember, I think there was Colombian mercenaries who tried to get into Venezuela about a year ago. Right. Do you remember this story?
That's right.
They notorious mercenaries, aren't they? That was
American backed,
that's it.
That's right.
We can see the interest in mercenaries going into Venezuela to kill Maduro.
Right, they're border countries, they're oil.
Well, the oil as well.
That's
the
right.
oil. But like America has no. I don't think America has any interest at all in Haiti. I mean, it was shown today for Biden, just way before he was president. So when he was a senator, he said if Haiti fell into the sea, we wouldn't know about it. Do you know what I mean? We wouldn't care about it. It's a word to that effect. Do you know what I mean? Because it does, and it's sad about Haiti because, like George was saying earlier, that it has a wonderful history. Do you know what I mean? It really. No, but I mean, but like, why? It was the only slave revolution, of that time to be like to take over an entire country. Do you know what I mean? It was brilliant.
It's an island that's about the size of my thumbnail. And so, yes, in terms of the historical significance of slaves overthrowing their slave masters, that's an interesting footnote in history. But
Yeah,
from that point forward, it's been a shit show for them.
I know.
You know, when Trump talks about shithole countries.
Oh yeah, that's
I give you
would come
Haiti.
under that category, you know, like
Yeah, I give you Haiti.
It's horrific, you know, and they've had bad luck as well. But I would imagine like the only interested sort of like party would be France, you know, because it's a francophone.
Oui, vive la France.
Yeah, like you know, you stayed on a French island, you know, Reunion. You know, I mean that's the only connection. You know, Haiti has no oil. Like it's not like Venezuela. We saw that 18 months ago when they tried to.
Yeah, but all these things, it's like, you know, back then it was kind of like climbing a mountain where you're putting in you know, one of those sticks to put your next rope into. You know, they're all like little ports and stuff. Right? So they have no significance
for the Caribbean. Yeah,
it was very strategic back in the day, because obviously there was the sugar plantations, there was a lot.
Yeah, they still have it there. I mean, if you drive through Reunion, the smell from the sugar plant, like what's it called, the sugar cane factory, the smell is just, oh my god, and it's everywhere, and they still do it there. Yeah.
Which Haiti shares an island with the Dominican Republic, and it's like a completely different country. It's, you know,
that's right.
Democracy, you know, free and fair elections, very rich, great tourism industry. You know, it's very pally with America. You know, and like literally, like the island is cut through like a line.
Yeah,
it's like New Guinea, and you know, it's
the Indian part.
What if Moise? What if he did a deal with Putin to install a missile?
I was thinking, because I mean, I'm sure Cuba wasn't much of an interest in America.
Stuff, you know, again.
Woo,
you know.
think how much money that would have been for Haiti. And
those wily Russians.
Right? No, I'm just saying, if you know the original concept of this show, Two Chimps Typing, is supposed to be to play out these like story arcs, these you know, these pitches. So Moise does a backroom deal with Putin, right, to install a missile base there, a la the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yeah. They somehow managed to surreptitiously, maybe with nuclear submarines, you know, used as cargo vessels, right? Mm-hmm. Set up a nuclear battery there. Mm-hmm. And before the U.S. figures it out, they're already there.
Yeah, but 150 kilometers away from Florida or wherever.
I mean, it really functionally would be no different than if it was in Cuba, right?
But rocket technology's changed a lot. I mean, I'm sure they could, if the Russians they could fly a missile to America from Russia now. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh no, they certainly can, and they have for a long time. But the point is, we can hit you guys before you have a chance to really respond.
That's true. I suppose distance still does matter and stuff.
Yeah, there's no reason for this bizarre assassination other than a third or a second party. You know.
Yeah, it does. It seems internal, doesn't it?
You know why? It's Haiti. Who gives a fuck? I'm sorry, but who really?
I don't actually care that much about Haiti, but if it means that my beloved America will be in trouble, then I do care.
So 2,300 kilometers, right? 2,300 kilometers from Haiti to Washington, D.C. So you get one of those missiles up and running, it doesn't take it more than just, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes. So it really only gives you the shortest amount of time to decide if you're going to retaliate, if you're gonna do MAD, right? Mutually assured destruction. And
guys,
even then, it takes you longer to send your missiles over to Russia than it does for them to deploy their, you know, because the missiles that they would shoot at us would have multiple warheads, which are all programmable to be able
Guys,
to hit different targets. Peter,
I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Have a good
That's
party.
a wrap. Season 1 of Two Chimps Typing.
Almost. I don't know. I'm thinking about 23 episodes. This would be episode 21.
I won't. I probably won't be able to do them, but if I can, I will. But if this is my last appearance, I want to say my favorite moment of the season 1 was pretending I had prisoners in my kitchen, and then my second favorite moment was when Martin brought one of the said prisoners to my apartment. And
Yeah.
and
she's not talking to me, by the way. But yeah.
Well, like the funny thing was, like the prisoners were supposed to be like Indonesian or Filipino women, and then like Martin brings an Indonesian woman to my apartment. She's like, "I want to see where you keep the prisoners."
Yes, that's right.
So
she did. She could have fit like a glove.
Yeah, she got the joke. I'm gonna go now. It's been fantastic.
Thanks for coming out, Peter. I hope we
see you good, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, Peter.
You have a good holiday.
And happy
birthday.
I will.
I'll try coming for the season finale. Maybe I might be in Italy. I'll be in Milan.
That wouldn't be so bad. Maybe you could stop by Unimatic and see if you can't get the GMT for me. It's $1,395 US. I've got the money for it, so I can pay
Martin,
you.
I gotta tell you, that's kind of my budget. that's kind of my budget. But okay, whatever, man. I'll do it. All right, see you later. Bye.
Take care. Ta-da.
Good evening to you. Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
What was your favorite story we covered in season 1?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do too. I wanted to do a little bit of that, like sort of a recap, and like maybe do like a slide thing, and show, like what were the best bits from the different ones. I don't know if I have a favorite. I feel like some of the early episodes we were kind of in our stride, which was good. Kind of where we had sort of a potpourri of discussion, like crammed into one.
There was a lot of frustration in the first season as well, because we were all in lockdown, weren't we? Do you know what I mean? It was like
COVID dominated.
Was that?
It's been COVID dominated. I think
it was. And but COVID's a big story. We still need to it's. I still find it strange, but like as a globe, there is one story that we've all been through. There's a whole collective experience of everyone who's lived. And we've all been through it.
Yeah.
Well, unless
that's mad. I find that fascinating. Like it's like
Second World War. Like the whole world is involved in some way. And that's,
I'll never forget when I cycled through Cardiff, like on the first week of like lockdown in the UK, only because I had to go to work. Like how there was no one there. There was not a single soul in a capital city. And then I got on the train and I watched Vice News and no one on the train. I watched Vice News and I could see Times Square, New York, empty. I could see Rome, empty. I could see London, empty. I can see
just like a zombie apocalypse film.
It was insane.
28 days later, right?
It was think about that time. Think about those days we lived in. It was like
it's our life thing, like for my grandfather, he fought in the war, and that was the big deal. And this is our once in a lifetime big thing that happened in our lives. We'll never see something like this again. Because we're all in our 30s, and Martin is in his late 40s. So it's that thing. Like we're never going to see anything again like this. We're living it. It's that thing in the history books. It'll be right there. So
that's the thing. The history books, right? So like if you go back to the Spanish flu. There's obviously a lot less material created and curated and preserved, right? Whereas
the first
now
war was a big deal at the time, so it was largely forgotten about.
Now on the other hand, it's like been so well documented in so many different ways, and it really does. It does make you wonder, in 100 years from now, how much of what has already been produced about this episode in our history, how much is going to be preserved, do you think? Like, think about the social media. How much do you think that's going to be preserved? Is there even going to be social media in 100 years? And if there isn't, how much of today's social media will have been archived and preserved for posterity? Of course, things like newspapers and news video and the like, we expect that will probably be preserved. But it does like beg the question, like, how much of this will be visceral for students of history 100 years from now?
The modern library, and I say modern here, of Alexandria, actually has a copy of every single page on the internet.
They do, yes.
They print. I think they believe they print it, they store it, and it's basically it's insane. So, and you think about NASA. Sorry, NASA. The NSA. How did I get that? That was so bad. That was NASA.
What, like
the
NASA?
The NSA have got copies of every single. You know what I mean? They got there's storage files of it, Martin. Like, there is every post, every video, everything is stored somewhere, whether that be in a massive superconductor.
No, listen, that's true, but how much of that would be available to students of history is what I mean. Like, obviously.
Well, like I said, the Library of Alexandria, you could see every normal access domain page on the internet ever made. It's all printed and it's there in Alexandria. So, but that doesn't take into social media, I don't think.
Well, yeah,
that's private, then, isn't it?
I think the aftermath of COVID, right? I mean, it killed a lot of people. I think it's what's the death toll? 4 million now. Which
probably more than that, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
I was thinking 6 million, because a lot of countries aren't properly recording it.
No,
and there's think about India, for example. There's so many people in villages who've just gone.
Well, it's not the Black Plague, then, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing.
There's still a lot of people, though. 6 million.
I think they'll talk about it like as a turning point in history, much like Peter's gone now. Like the potato famine in Ireland. The neglectfulness of the British government, started the Irish independence movement. I think
the worst part about that is there wasn't a famine of potatoes. There wasn't a potato blight. It was just that it was all getting shipped to England. How fucked up is that?
Yeah. Well, that's George, sorry, what was your point, though, George? Like, it's gonna.
The point is, like the way governments have handled this crisis. And it's so, I think there's going to be another sort of Marxist, fiduciary coming, because it's poor people are dying of COVID and rich people are not. Look at Eton in England. Yeah, it's a public school. It's the most prestigious public school. They're only the richest and can go there. But that school has been closed. Yeah, since the start of the pandemic. Whereas government schools have been open and like kids, it's shit like this where people are going to realize, like, hang on a minute, it's going to spur a lot of revolutions. Just like in 1848, when the Industrial Revolution, when poor people were working far too much in inhumane conditions, dying in industrial accidents, not getting paid enough, caused that. I think COVID is, because it's a once in a lifetime sort of thing, and we're all living it. And I think it's gonna change how governments, how we choose governments. I know at the moment Boris is so popular in the UK, literally he could piss in everybody's letterbox and they'd still vote for him. But the young people are like, what a dick, Well, like this guy like literally does not care about our health at all. And is putting a premium on our health for votes and.
Did you see that video I sent you?
History. I haven't yet, but I will. I promise.
Watch that, and because you the beginning of the pandemic for Boris Johnson has not aged well. Like it shows where
worse.
It goes the video.
Yeah.
By Owen Jones, the left-wing journalist, starts right at the beginning of the. New Year's Eve 2019, when the first reported cases come into the World News Corps. And And then it was Boris in February saying, "Oh yeah, I went to the hospital. I shook hands with COVID patients, and he's shaking hands with people." This is March, and it goes like day by day. It's like the first British death was on the Diamond Princess in Yokohama dock, and that cruise ship and stuff, you know. And it goes all, and Boris is talking about like, "Oh, we'll just take it on. We'll let it, you know, spread in our population. We'll take it on the chin."
Yeah,
it's not aged well for him at all. Like
basically, like if Donald Trump was still president of the United States today, you know, it's that situation. You know, like America turned a corner with Biden. You know, but we've got Boris. You know, we've got the Diet Cola Trump, and he's still here, and he's not going anywhere for a long time. And
the thing is, though,
this trajectory is what America would be like now.
Well, no, the thing is that he has turned it around. Like in the beginning of the pandemic, he was awful. It was like he wasn't taking it seriously. He didn't show up to the first 5 meetings of Cobra. But now people, I'll be honest with you now, people are seeing him as a success because of the vaccine. There is a sense of triumphalism in the UK at the moment, because, you know, we get on the news report, "Oh, UK now is #1 in the," do you know what I mean? And we're like, there is a kind of, it's saved his atmosphere, especially with the football going on as well, you know.
But this is nothing to do with Boris Johnson. The fact that Oxford University were, you know, producing AstraZeneca, and
you take the credit.
Germans made the BioNTech vaccine and the fact that we have money to buy it, you know, is Boris Johnson landed on his feet, you know. But
here's the thing: if England win on Sunday as well, along with all the pubs are open. All the restaurants are open. People are going to feel really, really good. And then they're going to look at Boris and you'll be like, "Oh, yeah, Boris." Do you know what I mean? It's going to be, when people are happy, they even though the leaders didn't do much at all, there's still going to be that positivity. And I don't know, I hate to break it, but I think he's doing really, really well at the moment.
He's Boris. A lucky son of a bitch.
I don't like him, but in the polls, he's doing really, really well.
He is. He's going to be prime minister for the next 10 years if he wants to.
Oh, well, you know, Keir Starmer, yeah, you're not going anywhere.
And like I said, he can piss in everybody's letterbox, and he can still be prime minister for the next 10 years. And you know, the vaccine has got nothing to do with Boris. You know, it's basically other people producing a vaccine, and we as a rich country, the 5th richest country in the world, can afford to buy it, you know. And also, you know, obviously the European Union, you know, the bureaucracy of the European Union slowed the vaccine rollout in Europe.
Well, that's the kind of word for us, yeah. Sorry guys, 1 sec.
Yeah, you know, what a lucky man, you know. And I know it's like, it's a cliche to, you know, to say, oh, that, you know, a leader that you don't like is a lucky man because he's, you know, doing this. But literally, this man is an incredibly lucky man, Boris Johnson.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's got that weird charisma that just gets him through, and he's going to be prime minister for 10 years.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that he and Trump share, which is that nobody's looking too closely at their acumen or their effectiveness. They're looking instead at like this affable, or, you know, obviously I think Boris is more affable than Trump is, because Trump's is a veneer of affability, but as soon as something doesn't go his way, then we see actually that's all just a big act.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, how would somebody like Theresa May have handled it differently? I think that, like, honestly, like at the level of the pandemic, I think every leader who at least is clinically sane probably would have had a fairly good level of success if all the mechanisms of government were in operation, you know, in working.
What I wouldn't give for Theresa May to be prime minister right now, you know, that's saying something, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
May. Oh,
and the thing with Trump, right? Like, so think about this, like, you know, Trump had an opportunity post-presidency to come out there and encourage as many people to take the vaccine as possible and soak in all the credit, calling it like the Trump vaccine or the Trump shot or whatever.
But yeah,
He
would say
certainly
that,
could
wouldn't
have done that. He certainly could have done that, because with Operation Warp Speed, that was all him, baby. You know, and like he certainly, man, I just don't understand why he makes these calculations that, you know, he wanted the credit for Operation Warp Speed. He wanted the credit for getting something out there. He takes credit for making the FDA move faster than it ever has, but then he doesn't take that next step and get all his supporters vaccinated. And think about this, like from a purely vain standpoint, you need as many of your voters alive as possible to vote for you, right?
No, and he could have done that. Because his supporters will do anything.
It's just incredible. It's incredible what a missed opportunity that was. And he is certainly savvy enough to read the numbers to know, like, I need my voters alive and healthy. And I can fucking bask in the glory of this until the day I die. How many millions of Americans I protected and saved and kept alive. He just didn't do it.
If he said to Arkansas, guys, you need to get this jab, 100%, all of them would get jabbed. All of them, because it's a cult, you know.
Except in West Virginia.
Yeah. You know, poor old Donald, you know, he just ran out of time. That's
what he said. But he, you know, now what do you think of this, where he's got this silly lawsuit that he's trying to file against the big tech, the social media companies. Now he's filed it in Florida, which automatically doesn't have jurisdiction over like Facebook, for example, which has to be filed in California. So it's obviously just another like marketing ploy.
Fundraising.
Exactly. Fundraising.
He should be on social media because he's a whack job, and I enjoy him being a fucking idiot. You know, that's a little. I miss it. You know, I miss him being a fucking idiot.
Biden can be funny, mind though. He puts up some cranks.
Well, yeah, you know, he's clearly got Alzheimer's, and that's quite funny.
I don't know about that. I don't think that's fair. That's not fair to him. I watch him talk on numerous occasions, and he seems fairly there and collected and together, and he seems fairly competent too. I think, however, that he is a person who, at his age, is probably many decades into this whole like public service bit, but he doesn't have lots and lots of experience at his age reading off a teleprompter. And I think when you're nearly 80 years old and you're reading off a teleprompter, that is always going to tongue twist you, tongue tie you. You're always going to see the word some instead of same, and you're going to have to correct yourself. And I just don't think it's fair for people to like suggest that there's something wrong with him because he's reading from a teleprompter at his advanced age, and he hasn't had a lifetime of this.
Bernie is the same age. I think he's a year younger or a year older. And he's sharp as a tack. You know,
Bernie, he also doesn't read from a teleprompter, right? So he doesn't read from a teleprompter because his job doesn't really have him have speech writers, right? So he does get to speak about the same things that are within his wheelhouse, things that he knows and knows.